Hey guys, McKenzie, Fayne here. We are here at AfterBuzz TV for the Spinning Out Netflix original series after show. We have a special guest in studio tonight, Mitchell Edwards. Stay tuned.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, the buzz begins.
Look at it popping up in there.
Yeah, rocking.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are here live in studio with Mr. Mitchell Edwards. We're here for Spinning Out Netflix original, which we all love. The skating, ice skating. We got some skiing in there. This is season 1, episode 3, called Proceed with Caution. We all know why. So thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight, Mitchell. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Welcome.
So those of you who don't know, Mitchell is an actor, well known for The First Purge in 2018, amazing, and then The Fix in 2019, not too far, and Roxanne 2017. So lots of stuff going on there.
Yeah. That's some cool stuff, though, you know?
It's such cool stuff.
Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Every year. I mean, so tell me, what was your favorite, your latest favorite project?
You know, a fun one is All American. That's a really fun one to work
Yeah.
on.
And what year, when was that?
That is running now.
Okay.
Season 1 premiered last year, 2019, and then season 2 is running now. Yeah, it's the second half of season 2 comes back on, I think next Monday even.
Okay.
Yeah, That's a fun one. We're playing football. There's a bunch of young guys are all having fun. It's just a cool time.
So I know a lot of the girls over here have some questions. So I have over here Ebone Chatman, who you can see on AfterBuzz's Dare Me and Siesta Keys, Emily May with NXT Dracula After Show, as well as Women's Wrestling Weekly, and Miss Lauren Mayo to my left with AfterBuzz Red Carpet Events. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
So let's kick it off. Who has, Emily, you have a question for Mitchell?
Oh my gosh, yes, I have so many, but I'll start with, so I wanted to know, when you got the call that you were going to be on Spinning Out, what was that like? And then, when you started filming, what was that?
Walk us through
it. We want to know it all. We want to know all the gossip.
The call, that's a fun question. That was a really cool time. So I was at the gym when I got the call. I was in the gym, and I actually was up for another project that I was going to be testing for later that week. So everything that was coming through my phone was all about that project. So I got a call from my reps, and I was assuming it was about that project. And they're like, hey, so we got some news for you. And I'm like, okay, what's up? And they were like, so you remember that other project? Spinning Out, and for the life of me, I couldn't remember it at the time.
Really?
Well, it was like 3 months later.
Going
It was like 2 or
money.
3 months later, and then, like I said, we were focused on this new project. So, in my mind, I was like, which one are you talking about? And they broke it down to me, and I remembered. And I love the casting office, so I immediately remember when they reminded me who cast it. And at that point, I just was in shock. I was in complete shock that we got, because the role was originally supposed to be a guest star. It's supposed to be like a recurring guest star. And then they expanded the role.
So happy that they did that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
For your career and for us watching, okay?
Yeah, so I found all
definitely
that
is
out
great.
in that phone call. So that's why it was such a shock. It was like, whoa, this came out of nowhere. Plus, it was expanded. So
Series regular.
Yeah, it was cool.
So what was the audition like?
The audition was quick. It was, like I said, I love the casting office, so
Yeah.
I was very comfortable going in. I think we only did 1, maybe 2 takes on it.
Really?
And normally, for a series regular, you have to go in a few times for a few callbacks and then ultimately do a test. I didn't have to do any of that. We just did 1 audition, and then 3 months later, they called me. So it was one of the easiest audition processes I've ever had.
Wow, you are booked and busy. I also want to shout you out because All American is renewed for season 3. I just saw that today, so congratulations.
Yes.
Hopefully
Thank you.
we'll be
Congrats
seeing
to that
you.
show, yeah.
Yes,
Hopefully.
congratulations. And I also wanted to ask, since you're so booked and busy, All American, you can't even remember auditioning for Spinning Out. My boy, he's booked and busy, so let us know, what is the secret ingredient?
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that first and foremost. It's such an up and down journey, so you just go in and out. I think for me, the secret is just consistency. I have a routine for everything, or almost everything in my life, from the way I eat, how often I eat, to how I work out, and the amount of time I spend reading or stuff like that. So I think if you can just find routines that can keep you sane in the mental, that allows you not to distract yourself from your work, because a lot of times that's the biggest distraction is ourself, our doubts, then you can just keep pushing through. You know what I mean? Keep doing what you have to do versus judging what you have to do. So, yeah.
I love it.
That's so true.
Well,
That's
I
really
have a
important
question
advice.
that honestly is like not a question that has anything to do with spinning out, but something that I've always wondered, right? So I know that you were on. It was about.
We'll take anything.
About the scary movie. Okay, so I know you were on the first Purge, and so I always wonder, like, are you as freaked out on set as like we are watching, like doing a scary
That's a
movie?
good-
Because I'm always
good.
like, you see all this crazy stuff, and I've watched a lot of like documentaries where
Yeah.
they're like, oh, crazy things happened on the set because we were doing, these like spooky scenes and whatever at the
right.
graveyard, whatever. So I
Right.
want to know, like, is it as scary?
It can be sometimes. I definitely think certain scenes are. Like, for instance, the night of the Purge party when everyone's out on the street or whatever. It was pretty scary on set. You know what I mean? They had, like, all this random stuff in the street. It was super dark. It was smoky. It wasn't as many lights as you see it on set normally. So, I mean, that was easy to kind of, like, be afraid or act scary. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
yeah, sometimes it can be. Sometimes it's a bunch of lights. So,
Right.
there's nothing really
I mean,
scary
were you
about
feeling
it.
like every time I go to Universal Horror Nights, I'm always like, this was a great idea. Then I'm like, why am I here?
Regretting every decision.
Crazy event. That event is crazy. Yeah, I went this year and it was wild.
It's so wild.
So yeah, don't beat yourself up too much about that one.
So I'm like, is that how it is on set? Because I was like, if I have to go to work every day in that stressful environment, like, I don't know if I'd make it, honestly.
Sometimes it can be.
So, I also have a question about spinning out. Have you ever skied before?
No, and I was so
no.
excited to ski and learn and all of that good stuff, but unfortunately someone got injured, so they were like, we're not going to do any of that stuff.
Really?
So did you had a
Yeah.
double, a stunt double?
Which I was happy with. Once I
Yeah.
found out someone got injured, I was
That is
not.
not an easy sport.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
like,
No.
that's serious.
Yeah. So have you played sports before? Do you have like a favorite Olympic sport?
Yeah, I played football growing up.
Okay.
Favorite Olympic sport, because football's not an Olympic sport, believe it or not.
Sure.
Tennis. I
Okay,
love tennis. Oh, also track. Track's always
Track,
fun.
yeah.
When you
That
see
would
it,
be
you know
That would be
what I mean?
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't ski. I played football. I played football for about 3 years, and that was pretty much it. Once I decided to be an actor, I was done with all the sports at once. But football was my fave for a while.
Have you ever run into the issue of getting accepted for a role and not really wanting it?
Oh no, I haven't had that issue.
No? Because I'm wondering, like, imagine.
You take the roles.
Well, it could happen. I don't know. I was going to say, how do you even handle that? But I guess
Yeah.
you wouldn't.
I think sometimes a lot of us, we'll talk about it. If you get an audition for a role that you're like, I don't know if I'll want to do this, we'll chop it up about it. But I like to do any and everything. You know what I mean? I went to school for acting for like 8 years, so I had to play a lot of different characters and just learn a lot of different techniques. So anytime I get to apply those things, I'm always willing to do
Well,
it.
I mean, that's your job, being a chameleon. Too.
Yeah. But there are also things that you got to be concerned with taking roles. You know, some people are very concerned about their brands or the messages that they want to send or their social impact. So there's reasons.
For sure.
Yeah.
Ebone, what were you
I
gonna
would
say?
have to say, my question is like, how fun is it being an actor? Because I would think that you get like love roles, you get like different it's kind of like being a journalist. You're like a little bit of an expert on like every little thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
as an actor, you get to try all these different things that maybe you wouldn't do as a career, but like in this scene or in this movie,
Right.
like I'm a business person, I'm a lawyer, I'm a, whatever. So like how fun is it to kind of play all these different characters and roles?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I think that's the reason I became an actor, right? I remember when I was in high school, I used to I realized that I was always making voices throughout the day. And so one day I tried, or not one day, but 1 week or so, I tried to test myself to get through the day without switching my voice up, not going into any other character. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
So you were like the class clown,
What-
basically.
yeah,
Is
what
that what
were-
you're
what are
saying?
your top
Some
three?
The goofy
ways.
one.
What are your
In some
top three
ways.
voices?
Well,
Your characters. I have to know. You're a character actor? You're just deep. Layers, man. Layers. Give us some accents. Something.
Yes.
Oh,
Put
wow.
him on the spot. Put him on the spot.
Honestly,
That's a lot
I
of
mean,
pressure.
it's not even so much that there's pressure. I was just recalling an experience from like 10 years ago. So now I don't walk around all day doing character voices.
Yeah, I was like, people might be looking at you strangely.
Not in LA.
Right.
Not in LA,
True.
but I was a high school kid. But my point is that like I always wanted to be certain things or certain characters. So it is a lot of fun being able to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Especially on series where you get to really dive into it, but also a movie getting it in really quickly and getting it done, you know?
What actors on this cast did you connect to most? I mean, did you just relate to or connect with everybody right away? Is everybody just a big family? How does that work?
Who was my biggest connection? That's the thing. I really did enjoy everybody. I got to work with Kaya the most, so you know she's cool. She's a good person. She's dope. She's fun. But that's the thing. Everyone were really good people. They were all fun. Willow is such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Willow Bear.
Yeah.
Me and Ev were tight, despite what you saw out of Marcus.
I know.
Right.
I was just with him 2 days ago. He was in town. We were just together. So like that was my guy. Will, Svetlana's cracked me up the whole time. I connected really well with January and her son.
Yeah.
I love Sarah. I adore Sarah. So like everybody, for real. Even
That's so good to hear.
That's
the
so
crew.
great.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. What was like the research you did to prepare for your role, and you know, because it's the world of ice skating, and
Right.
so
Right.
what was that like?
Well, yeah. So there's the world of ice skating, and then my character, which was the world of skiing.
World of
So
skiing, yeah.
I watched a bunch of footage on both. I love the Winter Olympics anyway. So like watching ice skating is mesmerizing. So I did a lot of watching that. I saw I, Tanya, just kind of like got myself in the headspace of it all. And that's when I realized how like neurotic ice skating moms were.
Right.
And so then reading the script, it was like, oh snap! They got that. You know what I mean?
I mean,
It
I
all-
think
it all
that's any
makes sense.
stage mom,
It all-
right? Like
any
that's
stage
any stage
mom,
mom's
yeah.
a little
I guess
crazy.
so. I just didn't realize.
Yeah, Dance Moms. There's
Dance
literally
Moms.
a show
Yeah.
about it.
Exactly.
So, you know, elephant, I feel like, in the room for us because we've talked about it so much. This whole mental illness issue that is brought up so many times. What are your thoughts, takes on that, and how the show kind of incorporated that into, or the producers incorporated that into?
Yeah, I learned a lot watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Reading it and then seeing it were two different experiences. Because reading it, you wonder why the character is doing what they're doing or how it comes about, because it's just up to your imagination. But when I saw Kat bite herself and saw the moment, it was so weird for me because reading it, I'm like, why the hell would you do that? And seeing it, I understood. I understood, like, dang, how to be so frustrated with yourself that you just, you have a reaction that's angry and aggressive like that.
Was there somebody there that, I don't know, maybe has dealt with it or is an expert in bipolar disorder so that it wasn't coming off in some type of way or wrong or?
Yeah, I believe that some part of the writing staff was had a clear mindset on what I believe the creator even experienced it herself.
Okay.
I'm not saying that she is, but I believe she has some type of experience with it. And they were very careful in how they brought it into the show. Because the show is about that. It's not merely about ice skating. It actually is about the mental health journey. So they were very careful. I think that was the majority of what their focus was on.
So interesting. I was just thinking with the question that you were asking, like, are you able to be on set maybe if you're not even in the scene? So, like, you're kind of seeing all these pieces coming together before, you're seing it on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. I love doing that.
Okay.
But, like, The Purge was big like
Right.
that for me because it was such a big production. I just wanted to be there almost every day.
Right.
Yeah, I love to pull up on set and just hang out because with Spitting Out in particular, it was a locations shoot. So I was in Toronto. It was freezing cold. It was warmer on set most of the times than it was in the city. So I always pulled up.
Was a lot of it in one location in Toronto, or were there different?
We
like
shot
the
all
bar, where the restaurant, like.
Yeah, so some of it was shot on a studio, and then everything else was all over the city.
So cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
How'd you like it over there in the cold?
I mean, I love the city. I don't know if you guys ever been to Toronto, but it's a
No.
dope town.
yeah.
Good, you got to explore a little bit then.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Get to have some fun,
On
right?
the warm days.
Okay, yeah.
So
Of
how
course.
many Toronto Blue Jays games did you go to?
I went to one.
One?
Just
Okay.
one, yeah.
At least?
But look, I got everything.
At least you got it.
That's an
Yeah,
experience.
I
Checked it
got
off.
the picture, I got the jersey, I got the whole experience.
Good.
That's good. You gotta.
So I
Have it
definitely want to dive into episode 3,
Nice.
and with you here is going to be so cool to get your input. So chime in at any time. But
All
before
right.
we do, the people listening, tell us where we can find you. We'll do it a couple times, but where can we find you, social media wise?
Social media wise, on Instagram, I'm _ Mitchell Edwards. That's MITCHELLEDWARDS. The same on Twitter, minus the underscore, and the same on Facebook, which is also Mitchell Edwards.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, girls, let's jump right on in. So, I don't know, it probably is a whole blur to you about which episode is which episode and what happens.
I've been watching it. You
You-
know, I
okay,
just saw it
yeah.
for the first time last week as well, and then I've been recapping. So,
So
I'm
what
cool.
do you think? So we go over our overall
Yeah, go
opinions
over
of
our
the episode. So what was your overall opinion of this episode, episode 3?
Episode 3.
Gotta think about it now. Don't be
Yeah.
blowing it, okay? Don't be blowing
Spoilers.
it. Okay.
Well, I just thought that it was really cool how they touched on trust in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There was the obvious trust with between Kat and Justin,
Yeah.
and him lifting her. Then that led to Dasha sending them out on the trust exercise. Then there's also the trust that Kat and Jenn lack for Mitch as Serena's coach. Then you have Marcus not trusting Justin around Kat. Then it was a lot of trust issues.
Yeah.
That is so
Then
true.
Mitch demanded trust from Carol in order for his relationship to work with Serena. So I just thought it was cool that they were able to have so many different conversations around trust.
This is why we needed you.
Yes.
It's like
Down,
what a different perspective than I feel like any of us would have
Yeah.
connected like all
Totally.
of that.
Totally.
Uh-huh,
I wouldn't have
nice.
connected it like that.
What's funny
But I
is,
see it.
but literally, I have to say, the first night, or the first note is all about trust. That's my note.
Ah.
It is. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. So it is.
That's so funny. Well, I actually
To be
don't even think
connected.
I mentioned it in the show yet, but Mitchell plays Marcus.
Right.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
to me, that's
Right.
just so obvious because, like,
But
if you
all the
watch the show,
fans should know.
you guys know who he is. But yeah, so let's go around. What did you guys think of this overall compared to what we've seen so far?
Yeah, no, I thought it was very interesting. I am into this Marcus and Kat
Me
relationship.
too.
Because you see a little flirt before, you know, in episode 2, and then now we kind of see it's a little outward because Mitchell is out here like really.
Mitchell.
Like, did I say Mitchell? Marcus. See, you have an M and an M. I'm gonna have to like write it down. Okay, listen. So
Big
Marcus is kind of like standing up for Kat in a huge way and putting his foot down.
But he
and
always does that.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
From the
But
beginning.
I mean, I feel like in this episode, it was like
Oh,
against
yeah.
Justin. You know what I'm saying? So it was like really being like,
Yeah.
don't mess with her.
That's so
Because you're going to have to
true.
answer to me.
That's
And
so
I
true.
was like, oh, don't we all need a man like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you know, I'm kind of in the lane with Mitchell where I really like. There was so many moments where it's not only like mental trust but physical trust, and also just I love like that it was a very psychological episode where you're diving deep into the backgrounds of the characters and like their motivations of why they're doing certain things.
That's so
and
true.
why they are the way they are in the moment in this episode. And so I really like that. That really kind of brought the drama up to the surface.
What about you, Lauren?
I was excited to see Bruce, the new coach, Jonathan
Yeah.
from Queer Eye. I guess I was the
I
only one.
know. No, I was
the only one that was like,
oh,
oh, cool.
No, totally. I was like, yeah, I loved
Yeah,
it.
I thought it was cool. I also love the boy drama. You know, everyone's fighting over Kat. I don't know what she's got going on.
Right, me either. Whatever the secret sauce is, I need it.
She has it on ice skating
Right.
and relationships.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, Kat's goals, I guess.
Right.
So, that
They
was
see
fun.
gold. They see gold in the future.
So funny.
Yeah.
So we start out with in this episode with Justin waking up with a girl.
Playa.
You know,
Right.
or
Leia.
going to practice late, and we see a little bit of Jenn and her femur issues, and her doctor, you know, saying you're recovering fast, and there looks like there's hope.
Right.
And what? So let's talk about Jenn for a second. Like,
Nice.
what do we think of that whole situation?
I love Jen. She's like, all right, well, she's like a ride or die friend. She's
Yeah.
really sweet, and
Yeah.
her hip is just stressing me out. Like every time she moves,
Oh
Yeah.
my
I feel
god.
it, and I'm
feel it.
like, I don't know if you guys have like an athlete or you know anyone who's been. You guys have
Right.
been
Yes.
athletes, but
Yes.
like, and they just keep going, and it's like, sit down. This is your life.
But
your
that's what
body.
happens though. Like when you are intensively into a sport, you're not even thinking about the pain. Like the pain is secondary to like after you've already like
Yeah.
done and played. Like
Yeah.
I did
And
play
then
basketball. I
This is, like,
ran track.
It was almost worse too because it was so close to the finals or the regionals
Yeah,
for
the
her.
Right.
regionals.
So
yeah.
like it'd be one thing if it was a year from then the injury occurred, but for her it was like just
3
a matter
months,
of weeks,
yeah.
a few
Matter of
months.
weeks, yeah.
And the
it-
worst part about her was a lot of it was riding on her dad and what her dad was gonna think and the
Yes.
money and
Right,
the this
right.
and
Well,
like
there's a whole like social like cultural aspect because there's so much writing on it for her parents. Like her parents
True.
are putting in money and putting in time, and
Yeah.
she's been doing it since she was a little girl, and so there's a lot of pressure.
I mean,
And
the thing
so-
is, like, it's not her dream though. Like, this is. I don't think she.
No.
Would, this is not what she would be
Yeah, I
doing
think it's her
if it wasn't
parents.
for
I think
her-
it's her
she would have went to
Yeah.
London. No questions asked.
she would have gone to London. Yeah.
I feel it.
But we see a new character. I'm not sure how much he'll develop, but Gabe, who is Leah's new partner.
Yeah, Johnny Ware. Shout
Johnny
out to
Ware.
Johnny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yep.
Two-time Olympian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
So, really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, do we know if he's gonna be on a ton? I guess that's a spoiler.
I know.
You know, the series is all there.
I can't
so
say.
you can go
I
check
can't
it
say.
out. You can go check it out.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so we'll just kind of dive in. In the beginning, we see Kat and Justin, and they're doing the lift,
Yeah.
and she just flips out.
Yeah.
Because she lets the other girl, Leah,
Leah.
get in
Get
her
in her
head.
head.
Right.
Yeah.
And every time she does that, I literally cringe.
Me
I'm like,
too.
you let your mom get in your head. You
Yeah.
let Leah get in your head. Stop thinking about these people.
But
like,
it's such
focus.
it just seems it's just such like a mean girl move for Leah to
Oh,
get into her
Yeah,
head,
but-
and then Carol and yeah.
What were you
They've
saying?
been doing it to each other the whole time.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, the moms do it. Everybody
Yeah.
does it.
It's the
crazy.
culture.
It's the culture.
It's so negative, and it brings Kat down, and
I
I know
don't-
she can overcome it.
I don't know if this is like too harsh of me to say, but I guess that's like my mojo at this point in this. But like, I'm sorry, if you can't get these people out of your head, then like get the hell off the ice. In
Yeah.
my opinion, don't do this sport if you
I
can't
think,
figure
but this
it out.
is too. I totally agree, but I think she's also struggling with this whole like, am I gonna be like? At first, it was like, I just want to pass the test to just be a teacher, right? Like she was
Yeah.
gonna settle,
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, now I can't breathe without ice skating, so now she's gonna do it with, she partnered with Justin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think she has this internal battle of like really
Yeah,
what she
well,
wants
think of
to
the
do.
title of the show, right? Spinning out. So
Spinning
she has a
Out,
lot
yeah.
of things that's like spiraling
So
around her,
true.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think mental health is not just having a mental disorder, but also having like a mental practice, right? So somebody
Yeah.
who can't focus, like you said, or
Right.
somebody who can't get things out of their head. That's another example of mental health that needs to be addressed as well, you know?
Yeah, I mean everybody struggles
Definitely.
daily with whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's
finding
true.
your pressure,
Pressure.
Yeah.
finding
Stress.
your self care,
Yeah.
finding a routine that works for you, that's healthy, that you can balance life and work. It's everyone struggles with it, and it's a good example of.
Yeah.
Kat.
I did want to say this is just something I learned watching this show, which is why I love like good television because you can just learn.
Yes.
But it's really interesting because I would say the same thing. Like, get over it, girl. Toughen up. This ain't for you. You need to go home. But it's so interesting that her first voice is her mom. And imagine, like, I don't know anyone's situations with their mom, but imagine that being your first and only voice telling you that you're not good enough from,
Right.
like, birth. And I think that's a very important part, in addition to all the bipolar mental
true.
health problems.
Right.
Or
Yeah. She
issues.
has that insecurity.
Yeah,
Her
like,
mom
but that's
is her
like,
insecurity. It's like her kryptonite.
literally since she was a baby.
Yeah, I mean, and
So sad.
and the first and second episode gets into that too, because there's a lot of resentment that Carol holds towards Kat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so to have that internally for Kat, to have it in your head, to have it like embodied in everything you do, that you're always worried that your mom is going to be, ashamed of you or not proud of you, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Carol, she doesn't take her meds, her lithium,
Right.
in this episode. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of now we're just waiting, like, does Kat take it? Does she not? Does Carol take it? Does she not? We're always kind of just, like, guessing to figure out. And then, of course, we see an episode of her pulling the muffin out of Serena's hand.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that? part.
I loved that part because
did?
Mitch put her in her
Yes.
place, and I
Yeah.
went, good. That's literally what I put as my
Yeah.
note because I was like, you really need to sit down. Like you always are doing too much, and so the fact that he was like, yeah, she's not the only one on the trial basis. You are too. So watch yourself.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know, it kind of confused me. Not confused me from a understanding, but I found it a bit like odd because I thought she was looking out for her, right? So I guess it was more so her delivery on how she just snatched it out of her hand and kind of crossed Mitch in the process.
Right.
But I was like, damn, I kind of thought, did you want her eating a muffin or not?
Yeah, I mean, it is also playing into we're not only seeing like mental disorders here, but like part of like eating disorders and how a lot of sports have that surrounding
that's a
it.
good
And
point.
so that's what I took away from it, is that there's a lot of pressure to have a specific type of body image when you are an ice skater. And
I mean, her mom keeps her on a pretty strict diet as is.
yeah, as
Yeah.
is, you
So
know,
that's why I was like, let her have the muffin.
But we
I
also
know,
learned
but-
in this episode that Mitch had history with a student who had an
Exactly,
eating disorder. So
exactly,
like he
yeah.
takes it very seriously. That's a part of the reason why he jumped on Carol so hard.
Exactly, and that's part of like the passion that he has for protecting his students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. So then we get into the scene where Marcus comes in, where Kat drops the plates in the restaurant, and then our angel Marcus rolls in.
Comes swooping in.
Don't even worry about it. Like the whole
And she was
thing.
like, I got it. And he was like, doesn't mean I can't help you. I said, let me find Marcus.
Little
Such a
heartthrob.
gentleman.
Is there anything you want to say about that scene in particular?
I love that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't like that they were fighting. I was
Yeah.
like, and also it was cool to be able to play a character who was so forgiving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to kind of be able to show how we can be, we can all just let things go, and just move forward.
I think he's such a great support system, too, for Kat. He's consistent.
So great.
Yeah, so
consistent.
consistent.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I think that's what you need when you're looking, first of all, when you have the mental health issue, but like when you're looking for a friend, right?
How do you relate to Marcus?
In that way, I find
Yeah.
myself to be very compassionate, forgiving, and supportive. I don't like to hold too much against people. Grudges, may that be grudges or just pressure in general. I don't put too much on people or my relationships.
Yeah.
But also just in his sweet nature, I feel like I'm cool like that. You know what I mean? In terms of just like, he was always generous and kind and like you said, soft-spoken and nice. And I feel like all of those same things I try to make sure are part of my life.
So basically, you were playing yourself.
So,
Is that what you're
yeah.
saying?
You're
You're playing
playing
yourself?
Not playing myself, but like using the character to learn about myself, you know?
Yeah, that's so
To
cool.
kind of enhance qualities.
Because it's one of
Yeah.
those things when you read something, you say, I want to be like this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm almost there. And having the experience of playing him out taught me how I could be in some ways.
You hear that,
that's
ladies?
great.
Over
That's
here.
great.
He's
Yeah,
basically
it's like
Marcus.
we're
Okay? So if you're single, you better plug it in now. Okay?
So in the show, Marcus says, can we just be cool again? And I just thought that was so cool to just
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
hey, can we just cut it out? Like,
Yeah, like stop the cattiness.
Well, and I
Let's be
liked how
done.
it was just like, it was straight to the point. It was
Right.
straight like, you know what, let's just like get over all this. Let's move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
It was
Yeah.
very,
There's
like,
love there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so any more thoughts there with that scene?
Not necessarily that scene.
Not
But
necessarily.
with,
No,
with
not that
the
scene,
next,
but-
with
With
the
the
party scene.
With the party team, we all have some.
Yes.
say.
Okay, so we'll skip that for a second. We'll get into the Dasha conversation with Kat, and she's a little bit worried that Justin's gonna drop her. That was
Right.
pretty short and sweet. Dasha yells at Justin at one point and kind of gets a little bit stern with him.
Yes.
What did you guys think of that?
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a different side of her.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Dasha's been the stern coach, but we haven't really seen her kind of go above a certain level of kind of emotion. And so for her to really because you have to think about it, Dasha's been with Justin for a long time,
Right.
so
Yeah.
so they have a history, and so for her to be completely honest with him and to make him the best person he can be on the ice and off the ice, she has to keep it completely honest.
And I don't think there's no secret that Justin's been coddled throughout life.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
And Dasha is a major part of that. We learned in episode 2 that the accident happened with his mom, and so like seeing how Dasha's played that mother role over the years, I think she sometimes struggled with the coach mom side of things.
True.
So it was good
It's
to
that
see her
struggle.
step into that coach and be like, "Yo, you gotta cut this out."
At the end of the day, who else is checking him? No one's checking him. You know,
Right.
like the dad's not checking
Yeah.
him, and the him and the stepmom. have,
Mandy isn't really.
Yeah.
She can't get with it.
Right. Somebody gotta check him.
So Dasha does this, team effort thing, drops the two of them off in the middle of nowhere. He's like, yeah, I'll like one up or get some lift out here.
Yeah.
Right.
Little
But
chest exercise.
I think she knew because they weren't going to be able to come back right away anyway, so they were going to have to
Right.
spend some time together.
Well, her exercise worked, whether they
Right.
called the
It
lift
did.
or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It worked.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they spent time in the diner. They talked it out, and I think it was what they needed. They needed
Right.
to get away from all the
They
politics
did.
of it all, get away and really just like be them. And I feel like they couldn't be themselves when they're in, near the ice skating rink.
I just think that was her goal too, right? I mean, part of her trust exercise is for her to trust that it'll work, right? Whether it happens the way she imagines or not.
True.
So I think
Yeah.
she just knew that you two need to know that I'm abandoning you. I'm mad at you guys. Get it together, and however you do that, come back to me when you're right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So true. And so then, Justin invites her to the party, and I didn't know how much he was really riding on that
Yeah.
until the party.
Which was so
party.
intense. I did
Yeah.
not think he
It
cared
really
that
was.
much.
Yeah.
He wasn't even drinking until he was like trying to find her. I was like,
I know.
And then Heartthrob shows up,
Heartthrob Marcus.
But I think it was
walks
funny even
in
the
all
way,
like,
yeah.
yep, I'm here. Where's my girl?
But I think it was funny the way that Justin even invited Kat to the party because Marcus was standing right there, and
was a little
I
awkward.
almost was kind of like, is Justin doing this as like to poke at Marcus? Like, does
Right.
he
Yeah.
know?
But I got away
But-
from that when he was like, you can just invite anybody you want.
Right.
yeah.
True.
It was more like, okay,
So-
open invitation.
Well,
But
no,
that
there
was
was still
still a
some
little-
check.
yeah.
Because he's like, yeah, he
Yeah.
makes the best mojitos. He works at my dad's
Right,
bar. It
that
was
was
a
a
little
jab.
pout.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
was
was a jab.
it was like
Yeah.
an underhanded
But
compliment.
even the invite whoever you want, as opposed to saying Marcus, you can come
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
still like an undercut.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
We jump a little bit to Carol and Mitch and that whole situation. She kind of apologizes, and there's just a bunch there. And Justin's, like we said, looking for Kat at the party and
Right.
couldn't find her. Then gives up, gets drunk, goes with a girl. It's like,
Right.
okay.
Which I
Off
felt was
Kat.
a little like, I feel like it was a little unbelievable that like Justin would be like, all right, I'm gonna go drink now because I'm this upset. Like,
Yeah.
it felt a
He
little.
seems pretty impulsive, though.
What did you
Yeah.
think of that
Totally.
part?
It felt like a party moment more so to me. Like
Yeah.
True.
you've been waiting on somebody, they're not here. All right, let's go drink.
Yeah, but I love how Marcus just invited himself. He said, "All right,
Yeah,
I'll see
he's
you."
like, I'm showing up.
And then
I'm not leaving you alone.
Right,
Em.
not at all. I don't trust them. And then even like their conversation, like Justin and Marcus at the party.
It was like a little.
It was, and then wait, the line
Chemistry
it
and-
said, "At work, she always shows up." I was like, "It's work." Okay. She come to see me, but she's not
Dig.
here to see you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it was. I was like,
Meanwhile, he's waiting on her text.
Yeah. So that was like your response to that like mojito comment.
Right.
you
Yeah.
have to get him back somehow.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to.
a little
Yeah,
quick dig.
tit
Yeah.
for tat. So the girls, Jenn and Kat, they sneak off to Mitch's camper
Oy.
to find out.
so
Which
they-
now was like soap opera material right
It
now.
was really
breaking into what someone's house.
And then he pulls up in the back, and they go out the
And then-
front. I was
Why
like,
is he
okay.
living in a trailer? Isn't he getting paid very good money? Why is he living in a
But
trailer?
he's from somewhere else, so I think.
Yeah.
Maybe he likes
It's
the
like-
lifestyle.
That's what I kind of took from it for whatever reason. That was
I mean,
my
does he give you that
interpretation.
vibe?
I feel like he's just a little low key.
I mean,
He's
he
not
just got
Right,
a
like, it
divorce.
just-
He doesn't know what the
Okay,
hell to do. Like, he's
maybe-
like, I
yeah.
need to, like,
Maybe
do
he's-
something
He
different.
doesn't
doesn't
want to
have
buy a
money.
new house because his wife might get half.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
The
He's getting a divorce. He needs to.
Yeah, but let the ink be dry on
yeah,
the papers.
she ain't gonna
I
want that
got you.
camper.
Yeah, and
I see you.
Justin takes Marcus out to play this really odd game.
Right.
Oh.
Is that
It's like
real?
that knife game, you know, when people take the
Yeah.
knife and they do
It's
that and they're so cool at
It's
a
like
party.
Russian roulette with trucks.
Yeah.
Can I tell you about that night, guys?
Yes.
It was
Yes.
like negative 15 degrees. It was freezing cold.
God.
And so that scene obviously is like 30 seconds long to shoot for
Too
whatever
long.
reason. It took us I think we did 2
hours?
nights. Yeah, yeah.
What?
It took a few hours to do, but we also had to change location and like get some stuff. So it took us 2 different shooting nights. But it was freezing cold both nights. Like freezing cold. You couldn't even imagine.
Oh my.
So when I saw that scene back, all I could think about was how painful my fingers were.
Oh no! Did you like a 20-minute warm shower after? Cause you're freezing.
We were like literally going back and forth from the van. We couldn't stand outside. It was that cold. It was crazy.
Gosh.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Is that a real game?
I've never
Do
seen
you
it.
know? Okay. I didn't know if anyone on set's like, yeah, we played this back home in Iowa.
I think it just shows.
I feel like when you're drinking, you just come up with games. I guess.
But that kind of game, like
I think
let's
that
go
just
stand
shows
up
a
and
little
talk.
bit. I think it shows a little bit about Justin and like what he's going. Like he's going through something.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
dark.
and he's a risk taker. I mean, he's really, like, as you said, he's like super irrational sometimes,
Right.
and kind of he's spinning out as well.
Right.
Everyone's spinning out.
out.
Another big thing we found out in this episode was, like you said, that Dasha was there when Justin found out about his mom and the accident, that she had not made it. So that did kind of wrap up and give us a good idea, like you were saying in the beginning. Like this episode showed us so much history, I feel like, between a lot of these
Why
characters.
he's disconnected.
And you realize, like, Justin's, like, why he's doing the things he's doing is he's, like, having a loss of his mom at such a young age is, like, affects you, like, as you grow up. And so we kind of get a piece of that.
Right.
Well, we have to wrap up, guys, but the last part in this episode was Justin and Kat having this moment on the ice and Marcus witnesses. So, you know, a lot to be said in this episode, but we're going to wrap up. We have episode 4 to cover. So thank you guys so much for watching. Where can we find you once again, Mitchell?
Once again, IG is _ Mitchell Edwards, MITCHELLEDWARDS. Mitchell Edwards on Twitter and Facebook.
Where can we find you, Ebone?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter because I changed it, so it's the same now. It's Ebone Chatman 12.
Awesome. You can find me at Emily Mayheller on all social media platforms.
Hey guys, you can find me, Lauren Mayo, at Lauren Out Loud. Yes, that's me. On Instagram and on YouTube at Lauren Mayo.
And you can find me on Instagram at McKenzie Fayne. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We will see you in episode 4.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.